Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745, and we're continuing my playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with the Total War mod, and of course we're playing as Germany. What event? It's probably MIFO bills, or have they come and gone a long time ago? Nope, they're coming up soon, so we will extend the MIFO bills, and we can take a look here. Okay, we can just want to look at all of the things, the decisions we could do. Motivate research teams. Man, we have a lot of political power. Let's grab the SS ones. Get the divisions for that. I think they're giving us two. Well, I don't know. Research times for all that. Consumer goods. That increases that. Industry speech. These are all a lot more consumer goods adding. A lot more consumer goods. A lot more consumer goods. More consumer goods, which I'm not necessarily wanting to do. Okay. Okay, has already. Region industrialization and integration. Okay, we'll give that one a shot. And I guess this is time to finish filling out some of this with all this political power. Alcat, Porsche, man. Okay, it's bad medium tank. Mag. Reliability and bringing down construction costs. I think we're going to do that. Material designers. Well, let's see. What are the next things we're going to want to research? We are doing a little bit of artillery. 1940. A lot of that's going to come. And here, well, we're going to be doing a lot of this too. So, let's go with Mauser, I guess. Sort of a toss-up for me between those two. And another theorist. Yeah, we'll take von Manstein. And, well, we are spending a bit like a drunken sailor, but yeah. There we go. Used up a bunch, but I think usefully. Okay, improved mountain artillery, very good. Okay, which is why mostly I saw coming over here that get some of this stuff done now. Be ready for the fight coming up. Okay, and here, new general. Okay, who do we want to command in East Prussia? Mountaineer, Winter Specialist Commando, not so much. Yeah, he looks like a good option. Need a few more troops up there, though, I think. How are we doing for our... Okay, what is it lacking? Probably radio equipment or something, but we're gonna put them out. Let's add a unit there. Oh, okay. Can't do any more special forces units. Not until we get at least more units out. Okay. And now will it let me deploy? Yeah. Blitzkrieg, very, very good. Okay. Hello, Armageddon Apocalypse. Good to see you. And let's pump out a few more factories. We can come down here, build in Austria. Oh, you missed everything. It was so wonderful. Now it's just boring Hearts of Iron, but advanced tools. Okay, and heavy weapons. And yes, of course, I'm just teasing, but yeah, we're going to do some more infrastructure. Now we need a bunch more chromium. Oh, Sweden has stopped trading much with us. Okay, well, we're going to let that continue. Turkey will up it by 1. And rubber. Well, we're building plants. Go down to that. We're getting ready to deal with Czechoslovakia here. Select all. You're going to get ready to go north at some point. Okay, and now we're going to start building another armor core here. No. Back to that. We want you under. Oh boy, did I really mess this up? Yes. Okay. Form that. I know we don't have a commander for it, but you're going to come under that. And you guys are going to come under that, even though you don't have a commander yet. Now, who are we going to put under it? Well, we're going to, let's see. Yeah, Rommel. We'll give Rommel that. How we're doing for more armor divisions. Cancel this. Deploy, and let's add a unit as well. And now Rommel will also get an armor division, and all of these guys can come up here. Okay, reconnaissance radios have improved, or were set up there. Improved trucks. Okay. Okay, so we have a holding line here with just a bit of sort of punch to push down into here. We've got our armored force to push towards Warsaw. We have a little bit of armored and motorization to push this way with a large infantry thrust through there, and still haven't. Okay. Yeah, everything's going. That is these guys. Well, you can come under that. Okay, so we're going to pick up these units. Okay. Oh wow. Hello, Supernova Llama. How you doing? Yeah, no, gotta declare war. And we're getting there. This is just sort of the peacetime buildup, July 39. Stimo Commando, hello. Could be some divisions for border raids. I don't know if there's much for that going in Europe. Okay, we could set up Slovakia as a puppet state, partition Czechoslovakia with Hungary, or all of Czechoslovakia. We're going to do the historical path, just because it's the historical path, the fate of Czechoslovakia. And of course, at this point, it was definitely, too late to defend Czechoslovakia. I want to look over here at our let's do fighter arm. And we can produce more. Yeah, more rubber plants. Synthetic rubber, that is. Czechoslovakia, yes. Now the Reich is much bigger, and we have more factories. Yay. Okay, what do we need? Well, we need more radio equipment. We need more transports, more support, more light armor. Okay, more transports. Let's some more light armor. Just regular support equipment. What I also want to do is so we can upgrade several of these things. Get some more tanks into production. Now, what is our current models of? Okay, the Emil. So yeah, the Emil is a good model. Don't know. And this well, let's see. Can we create a variant here? Air experience. That looks good. So we're going to upgrade to that and build more of them. Not really that worried about light armor so much. Improved mountain artillery, might as well do that. I know we still got a bunch more, but I want to do some of my pet projects of float planes, flying boats, long range fighters. Yeah, we have better tanks. Okay, a little more specificity on us. Steamboat Commando. Sorry, not exactly who you're referring to as us. And we need more chromium, of course, with our increased factory needs. And we're sort of stressing out Sweden. Not enough to. Check equipment. Okay, so we load OB custom tooltip. Check equipment. Very good. Don't know why you're using that picture, but all right. Bohemia has been reunited with Germany. Let's see what we can use. Oh, cool, the 35T. And use the 35T and form the 6th and 8th Panzer Division. Yes, very good. Use the 38Ts, which are just coming online now. Even though they were sort of adopted in 38, they really didn't start showing up until 39. Yes, good, good, good. Control of Bohemia, very good. And so that now allows us to add production lines of these guys, and I sort of want to do that. And we'll give him to Rommel and send them over here. And okay, let's see if we can pump out a few more military factories. Oh, I mean, our Hoi 4 community, basically on weekends we hold multiplayer games that put political role playing. Well, cool. Thank you. I appreciate the offer. Right now, Saturdays and Sundays, I am streaming live on Twitch and YouTube, so I don't know if I'll be joining you, but thank you for the offer. I do play once in a while with the Black Ice dev sponsored stuff to live stream that. Ordering the 50th Infantry Division, great. We'll give him to Rommel. The 7th Panzer Division is now Rommel's, which it was historically. I don't know really why that's here still. Yeah, quite honestly, I don't know much about it, but I do know that there some toxicity going around. I really don't. I haven't been involved enough to really know. Sorry to hear that it's enough that it's a thing. Yes, that's absolutely right. The Ghost Division. It got the nickname during the Battle of France, in that it was never where it was supposed to be. You know, because move to here and hold there, and Rommel would be somewhere else, and yeah, I'll get there soon. Yeah, you know, meaning he's already been there and gone without permission. So he was sort of hard to find the division because it was ghosting around France. Yeah, I think we should do that. And it was one, I think, primarily with the 38Ts equipped. Yeah. And it was one of the Czech tank types. We can look at their template here. Now, these divisions are much better than these divisions right now. What I think we have here is get template bloat. Okay, the 37 division. Now that'll have some medium tanks. So what we want to do here is, instead of building new, we want to take, let's do these one at a time. We're not doing that. Well, hold it. Well, let me look at the 38 before I dismiss it, because I'm taking that as being the light Czech tanks. But let's, yeah, these are the Czech tank setups like that, where this 37 has some medium armor in it. So what we want to do here is, like I was starting to do, come here, upgrade to that, and we need more support equipment and more radio equipment, which isn't available, but medium tanks. Okay, 90, so we can do about, let's do 5 of these divisions here. Yeah, there's an easier way to do this. You just grab them as a bunch. That's probably what I should do. No, not semi-motorized. No, come on. Yeah, I should just... Where are you? Oh, we've already moved you over to the 37. Yeah. That's right. So that's why I'm not finding it. Come to here. Click here. Now we'll find the 37th Division. There we go. Yeah, one more. Here we go. We're building radio equipment. Yep, both sides didn't know it. I don't know their panzer losses. They were still in reasonably good shape, the 7th Division. At least by the time they got to the Channel, they were still in good shape. I remember some photos of Rommel and some of the tanks on the Channel coast. Some of his dealings, so I don't know how much. Now, also, maybe not. We'll see just how things go. When you look at tank losses, if you're looking at the daily tank losses for the German army, they refer to the number of tanks out of action, which could mean that they got hit by an enemy round and the round penetrated the tank and hit the ammo inside, and the tank literally just blew up. You know, turret goes flying off, the tank's just done. But a tank loss can also be, we drove the tank to death, it's no longer drivable, we need to get it to a field repair shop and have it worked on. Okay? And it gets worked on for a day or two and it's back into action. Or it could be somewhere in between that. Something, an enemy round hit it, penetrated the tank, knocked out some piece of equipment in it, maybe killed some of the soft people inside, but give it a week or two and the tank or something is going to be back in action. So sometimes if you look at panzer losses and you look at sort of the daily German reports, if you're looking at that kind of stuff, a lot of those, especially if you're winning the battle, like you're in France and you're taking terrain as opposed to late war Eastern Front when the battle's over, the Soviets are in possession of it, and you can't recover your tanks. But a lot of the tanks that were damaged were just temporary losses. Some were complete and total, like I say, blown apart, and you got scrap metal there. And then there's everything from that to just needing tracks or something replaced and some maintenance level on it. So you have to sort of be careful of your stats and your figures and how you count things. Oh yeah, no, they were pushing their supply lines. That's another correct fact for everything that I've read. They were very much pushing their supply lines. Okay, improved infantry equipment. Very nice. So now we can start researching for the Gewehr 41 Walter. Yeah, probably the better one of the two. Probably, but I wouldn't be sure of that. Okay. So you're seeing a lot of that as well. We still need a lot of radios, don't we? Yeah, radio equipment. Okay, Italy pursues closer bonds with Germany. Very good. Fighter arm. Very good. Okay. So I'm looking. Okay, again, everybody. Historically, the biggest mistake Hitler makes is his invasion of Poland. It dooms Germany. He thinks he's going to get a localized war against Poland. He wants a localized war. First tries to get it against Czechoslovakia. They decide not to fight twice. So, because the whole Munich conference thing was purely to try to keep Britain and France out of his war with Czechoslovakia, but they give in, and then when he invades later on, they refuse to fight. He wants a test war for his army. He wants that with Poland. He thinks the British and the French are going to back down again. They don't. So he starts this war, and this is the biggest mistake. Okay. So if you take that into account, and if you try to do the original sort of plan, a 42, 43-ish start of the war, that's going to throw most of these games way out of balance because they're not designed to go for peace that long. But there is no requirement to make the mistake of, oh, let's go to war here and then have a winter and let them wait in wartime without there. So I'm going to try to do a early spring war against Poland in 40, early spring 40, and then a very rapid shift of forces to the Western Front to do a summer offensive against France. And we'll see how quickly I can break through here. I don't know. Sometimes I was asked, am I going to try to do the sort of Ardennes forest front? Sometimes it's just this stuff is collapsing up in here easy enough, and we end up plowing through here. If there's if I can go through other holes, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be wedded to a narrow, rigid historical path. It's only a bad habit when you don't win. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So we're going to look at that. So I sort of getting to it is I don't want to do these too fast down here. Obviously, we could do Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, but we're going to do that before we do Danziger War. But what we should see about doing maybe now is reassert Eastern claims, which should get us Memel. No, the Panzer III is much better than anything the Poles had, and I would say the 38Ts and even the 35Ts are probably better than what are they, the T7. There's a 7 and there's a P and the T in the name. I keep forgetting about how they go together. I think there's 7 TPs. Sorry, those are okayish tanks. The other tankettes, had no turrets. Those were sort of junk. But I mean, they were not as they were better than the Panzer I for sure. The Panzer II, not really, because they didn't all have radios in them and things like that. They had a better gun, but a Panzer II's 20 millimeter could shoot them up, and so the Panzer II is functionally a little better than the Polish tanks. In some paper stats, the Polish tanks might look a little better, but when you add in radios and some of the command and control elements, even the Panzer IIs end up being a little better than what the Germans had. So at least that's my assessment of it. Yeah, okay, 7 TPs. Thanks, Arno. Yes, the sort of a lot of tanks are based on the early Vickers tankette models and upgraded, upscaled. But definitely the Czech tanks were, and there were a fair amount of them coming online. Now, what some of the problem was with the invasion of Poland, and I think it's von Luck's book that I read not too long ago, that the whole Polish campaign was sort of like Hitler saying, "Oh, next week we're invading Poland, dudes. Be ready." What? So Germany really sort of was like, well, what units do we have in this area? What can we quickly marshal in literally days and push into Poland? Not like what I've done here is, a year early and we've got divisions stacked all along the Polish border. A lot of the units were still in, depots, their home Welle regions, and were in no way able to get to Poland in time for the war. So some of the units in training, some of the units that were already stationed there, mechanized units of various types, were not the best units that Germany had ready to go. So that's some of the issues, but that's more Germany's mistake than Poland doing better. Yes, you're absolutely right. Heinz Guderian was one of the people really strongly pushing for radios, and he was absolutely right. The 10 TP. I've yet to see a photo of a 10 TP in an army unit. I don't know if any of those were ever put into production or no. Yes, I agree. IKB is not what you got; it's how you use it. So yeah, very much so. Yes, we'll take this 72nd Infantry Division. Very good. And so a well planned out. Obviously, this is probably going to be overkill to some degree. We need more radios, so. Let's build a couple more factories there. Yeah, I've vaguely heard of the tank, Arno. So I really, meaning I don't know what it is, as into like what gun it had on it, how it was set up, but I vaguely heard that it existed or something about it, and I don't know whether, quite honestly, I just don't know whether it was just something on the drawing board or something they made a prototype or something, but I've yet to see a photo of it in a Polish army unit. So I take it as a vaporware, if we were talking about software kind of thing. Something that was in development, was in plans, but was not in reality a thing yet. That's how I under. Yeah, well, I'm not talking about seeing it there. I'm talking about seeing it in real history. Yes, we'll take Memel. The asserted Eastern claims and mortar teams are improved. That's what I'm mostly referring to here. Okay, so, but we don't want to do this or this yet. Okay, but how many days? Okay, 35 days and 7 days. So we've got just, a little over a month, and we're at war, and we're not yet ready for that. There's just no reason to do it. So let's go with a U-boat effort for 56 days. Okay, German Reich claims Memel. All right. And again, one thing that I've not talking as much about history in this series as I did with Hearts of Iron 3 does keep this series moving a little bit more. Okay. We've talked about the idea that Hitler's goal was to have a later war with the Western powers. I don't believe in his more rational thinking that he really thought he was going to own France and Britain. I do, once they actually were at war with France, they thought they were going to be at war with France for a few years. I mean, that was their sort of thinking. And don't have time to look at that right now, but thanks for posting it. I can look at it later. That the combination of things, I don't really think they thought they were going to be able to own France, including just how difficult they thought it would be to defeat them on the one hand, and on the other hand, it's really hard to repress that many millions of people. Um, a lot of the people in France did not revolt for the longest time because they had Vichy France, and they sort of kind of thought that, hey, we just keep our heads down, and in a couple 3 years, we're getting France back. So why die if we're going to get it back anyways? Why revolt? Why have problems if we're just going to get it back in a few years? And the Germans weren't acting like they later acted on the Eastern Front, which was just total, complete brutality. Germans were trying to be sort of nice to the French people. So there was definitely going to be border readjustments, particularly this bit of land, but probably a bit more. And I think the Germans wanted to integrate the Dutch and maybe the Flemish into the German Reich. But these were going to be their own countries. So but Hitler definitely wanted to have a rematch over World War I to try to settle the score. Okay, that's what he's looking forwards to. He's looking east for massive new lands and massive conquests. Okay, that's where he's looking for that. Now, he wants his private war with Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia had a treaty with France, mutual support and defense treaty. The reality was France wasn't going to go to war with Germany without Britain. So Britain was the deciding factor. So Hitler wants to convince Chamberlain, who one of Chamberlain's good buddies was somewhat friendly with Goering, and that is what's his the other guy, Halifax, Lord Halifax, to the point that he actually spent at least one night at Goering's mansion, at Karen Hall, at least one night, maybe longer. When visiting, and he's when they were, and just again, if you don't know, if you haven't watched The Darkest Hour, the Churchill movie, Halifax is the other guy that was going to possibly be prime minister other than Churchill once Chamberlain was falling. And Halifax and Chamberlain were much more buddies. They didn't really neither of them liked Churchill. So they've got Halifax high up in the British government who has a good opinion of the Nazis. Not that he's a Nazi, not that he likes them, but that they're all right. You can sort of deal with them. Okay, that's sort of what I want to say. I don't want to. And once the war starts, Halifax we can talk about. But hey, thanks for following the channel. Do appreciate it. So you're looking at the situation that Hitler wants to convince Chamberlain that all he really just wants is the Sudetenland, but these stubborn Czechs won't give it to me. So just stay out of this. Let me have this war with Czechoslovakia. That's what he wants. What he ends up getting, and we can talk about, there was a Franz Hadler. Where is he? He's under here. He quietly offers to the British that if you and the French just have a war and make any sort of an offensive, I'll do a coup against Hitler if you go to war in 1938 over Czechoslovakia. Just make some sort of offensive, just enough for me to justify having a coup against the Nazis, and I'll do it. Well, obviously, they don't take him up on that offer. I don't know if they trusted the offer. I don't know if he would have been successful at the coup, whether he would have been backed down and not done it, or whether he would have tried and failed. I have no idea on that what if. But he and some of the generals were looking at a possible coup, but they needed a good excuse for a coup. And a bad war would have been the excuse. Okay, so, but Chamberlain, who just wants peace for our time, not peace forever, but peace for our time, because he knows Britain isn't really ready for a war with Germany, thinks Germany is stronger than it is. The Western Allies constantly overestimate Germany's strength on everything. The French are terrified of the great big Luftwaffe and don't want to anger, by one of Churchill's ideas was, well, let's start dropping mines into the Rhine River to block river traffic, naval type mines. The French, this is when he was not yet prime minister, but just, Lord of the Admiralty, in charge of the Admiralty, wants to do that. The French say, no, we can't do that because it'll anger the Germans too much, and their big giant Luftwaffe will come over and clobber us. Well, France had a larger air force than the Luftwaffe alone. France alone had a larger air force than the Luftwaffe. Now, we can talk about quality of aircraft, quality of command and control, quality of radar. Britain had it, no one else did. France and Belgium, I know, did not have an air spotting network, guys with binoculars looking up and going, hey, there's an aircraft up there. Let me get on the phone or the radio to tell a central command headquarters to vector in fighter. No, it was just fighter patrols and sort of World War I style stuff. So their command and control of their air force was probably much poorer. Well, we know was much poorer than the Germans. But still, France thought Germany had a larger Luftwaffe, but France did. Now, then you also, of course, add in the British, the RAF, and then however much you want to, once the war includes the Dutch and the Belgians, add in other stuff. But so there's, in some ways, stronger, on paper at least, they're stronger than the Germans were. But they really weren't prepared for the war, and also morally, the people weren't prepared to go die in the war, particularly the French. So they sort of let the Chamberlain sort of goes, yeah, and Chamberlain knows that he's not ready for a war. So I don't blame him on this. I blame him for not being ready for a war, but I don't blame him for backing down. So he wants peace for our time to rearm, because he really only now, after the Sudetenland crisis, does he push for real British rearmament, because France has been sort of cheaply rearming themselves and building the Maginot Line. That Maginot Line sucks up a lot of money, but again, I say cheaply because they want an infantry tank, small 2-man infantry tank to replace the old World War I FT-17. Then the new tank was going to have both a machine gun and a main gun. But they not only do they want the same model of gun in the new tanks, the reason they want the same model is so they can reuse surplus guns from World War I. So they don't even want to spend money on a new gun for the tank. That's how cheaply they're trying to do their rearmament. And so France has been cheaply trying to do rearmament because it's been seeing Hitler and whatnot and realizes that it needs to. Britain really, in the 1920s, I understand their disarmament, because other than maintaining their colonial empire, there's nothing for them to do with their army, particularly. But starting, 1935, with the reoccupation of some of the Saarland elements and the final fully occupation in early 36, that should have sent a big warning through the British that they need to rearm, if they hadn't already. But definitely by that point. But it's only in mid to late 38 do they really start to rearm over this. Okay, so had Hitler just taken, and so he gets the Sudetenland without his war, so he's really pissed. Gets the Sudetenland. I know this is going a long way here, but I want to explain the context here. So he gets his Sudetenland, no war. Okay, but what is Hitler's goal? A training war alone. Okay. He wants a training war without anybody else getting involved in it. Well, his next goal is Poland. Now, while the pressure for the Sudetenland's been going on, he's been starting to ramp up pressure over what really technically is the Danzig corridor, not just the Free City of Danzig, which is basically German controlled anyways. It's basically a German puppet state. But he wants this sort of corridor through here. And so he's already been pushing towards that as a goal. So he wants his war with Poland. Now, he does one thing right and basically one thing wrong. The thing wrong he does is takes the rest of Czechoslovakia, so that the British particularly, but also the French, will no longer trust a German agreement. Had he left the rest of Czechoslovakia alone for this time period, pushed for more ramping up the pressure here. Maybe pushing for Memel because that again was a majority German population up here. This was very heavily German at the time. And again, map people who change maps, they should leave the damn port in Memel. The main port was here. This was sort of an extra subsidiary, super small port, but the main port was Memel. Don't pull away real things like you pulled away Stettin, people. Stettin was a port. I see we've added that here, but Stettin should be the port. And there could be another port up here, but Stettin. So pressing for Memel, it's a German majority population. That sort of comes under the thing. So had they not pressed for the rest of Czechoslovakia, the thing, of course, he did right was convince the Soviets not to come to war against Germany over Poland. You know, you get half of Poland. We'll split this up. So had Hitler not taken Czechoslovakia, I think he could have gotten his private war with Poland, but I'm not sure on that. Obviously, we're not sure. It is only after he takes the rest of Czechoslovakia does Britain guarantee the territoriality of Poland. So it's only after the rest of Czechoslovakia, Bohemia, and Moravia are taken do they guarantee Polish stuff. So that's sort of how I look at this, that if Hitler really wants to have his private war, should have left Czechoslovakia alone. Now, he can take his half of Poland and get ready for the war with, over here, the Western Allies. And then at some point go after Czechoslovakia. That would be an easy cleanup. Easy cleanup. Let's see what the chat. I'm also pretty sure the French people were glad they weren't under communists. Well, there was a lot of support for the communists in France. So some were, some weren't. Yes, you're right about the political squabbling AZs. Well, no warmonger. Had Churchill been prime minister, UK would not have to go to war and wouldn't have been ruined. Churchill wasn't at war when Britain goes. Churchill wasn't prime minister when Britain goes to war. Chamberlain is prime minister. Azad. Chamberlain goes to war. Churchill is not in the government when. I mean, he's literally out of the government, and the people in government hate Churchill's guts. They hate his guts. Chamberlain and Halifax, the two main players for the Conservative Party at the time, hate Churchill's guts. Most of the conservative establishment, because Churchill had crossed the aisle for a time and gone over to the Liberal Party, switched parties on them. They see him as a maverick, unreliable, hate his guts, thought his administration of the Navy Department as Lord of the Admiralty during World War I was a complete and total failure. They see it as such, particularly his Dardanelles campaign. We can talk about that. And so they just hate Churchill. Oh no, Churchill has nothing to do with Britain going to war. Churchill is not in at all. Churchill only becomes, again, Lord of the Admiralty, the civilian overhead of the Admiralty, after they go to war with Germany. And so he's running the Admiralty at some point once the war starts, because nobody else is really actually good to do it at the moment. So he's running that, and he only becomes prime minister once basically Belgium falls. And so Churchill becomes prime minister, and he does his damnedest to try to keep France in the war. But that's already too little too late. So Churchill has nothing to do with the decision of Britain going to war. Churchill, I would disagree about his warmongering. He was definitely, I recently rewatched the movie Young Churchill, which was made in the 1970s, which has a lot of 1970s isms in it, as well as things about Churchill. And they talk about his experience in whatever campaign in India that he was involved in, and then his experience in the Sudan campaign under Kitchener, and then his later escapades in South Africa as a reporter when he's captured and escapes. Other than as a young man that wants to go to battle and win a few medals to mostly get voted into parliament, that sort of 20-year-old's dream of going to war and winning, killing a bunch of bandits in battle. Other than that, I don't see Churchill going to war with anybody, Hayes adds. So I disagree with the warmongering thing. He sees the danger of the communists. He sees the danger of the Nazis, and that's who he wants to fight because he knows they're going to come and fight them if they don't. Churchill's people were part of Track 2 negotiations with Germany over the future of Europe. Okay, I don't know what you're referring to there. I'm not saying you're wrong, Azads. I just don't know what you're referring about Track 2 negotiations over the future of Germany. UK disagreed, and hence UK fought Germany. Well, I think they realized Germany was going to come and fight them no matter what, and so they decided to not wait to be attacked. That was Hitler's greatest mistake. He thought the Western democracies were too weak or too indecisive, or however you want to say it, to decide to go to war. They would wait to be attacked. Oh, Hess's flight. No. Churchill was not part of the right club, and those people that Hess was trying to talk to, Hamilton, the Duke of Hamilton, I believe, the Scottish peer. No, Churchill was not part of that circle. So I don't know. Some of those groups were anti-Semitic. Some of those groups were fascistic. Churchill was not part of those groups and those people. I have yet to see any evidence that associates him with them. Well, Germany was certainly trying to get the Navy to attack Britain. Germany under the Kaiser Navy was specifically built to threaten Britons, and Hitler was pushing for a Navy to threaten Britons. They didn't have it at that time. You're absolutely right. They didn't even have the freaking 30 or so, more than 30 or so submarines when war breaks out. They weren't ready, but the plan was to have 100 submarines ready to go to sink transports. That would be attacking Britain. And that. So, yeah, no, Germany wanted a war with Britain. Germany didn't necessarily want to put troops into London. See, well, I'm not sure how you're meaning that, IKB. Hess was one of the original members of the Thule Society. The Thule Society creates the DAP, the Deutsches Arbeitersparty. They are a mystical organization. So if you say anybody who believes in mysticism is nuts, then yes, he was nuts. But I don't think he was divorced from reality. Now, late in life, he was. After being 20 years or whatever in Spandau prison, I do agree he was nuts by that point. But I don't know where it came about. But there is more to. And Azad's right about hinting at the whole group of Britain elites. They're not all peers or titled people, but group of Britain elites that were not unfriendly to Hitler. But Churchill was never part of that group. Churchill was always. He starts out ranting and raving about the dangers of communism, which I 100% agree with him on that. But once you see Hitler coming to power, starting in 1933, Hitler really sees the main danger is now the Nazis. So he is always against the Nazi expansion. I don't know about that. 40 to 50% German. I wish my Czech friend was here. He knows that pretty well. He's something of a reenactor and a historian for Czechoslovakia. Not he's Czech, but the history of Czechoslovakia, knows it very well and studies it. Actually, a history professor, a history teacher. So he knows that pretty well, and been my consultant for Czechoslovakia on things. I do know that there were Sudeten Germans in the Czech army, but and I accidentally used a picture of the my friend's grandfather, who for one of the events. He told me after I used it, oh, that guy there in the picture is my grandfather. So he knows pretty much about it, and especially the SOS. They were one of the organizations in Czechoslovakia set up to defend it. Sort of a paramilitary organization. They included a lot of police and non-army type but armed force type peoples that were set up to do it. That they were specifically set up to not be German. So I don't know where you're getting that is. No, I would disagree. The Germans weren't strong outside of the Sudetenland, but there were quite a few Sudeten Germans into the 3,000 or 4,000 number that Germany had set up into a Freikorps that they were planning, once war broke out, to use them to sort of raid the border territories. But they did very little of that leading up to it, and then once the Sudeten land was taken over, most of those people were put into the SA for this, the Sudeten Gau of the SA. So most of those, the Freikorps moved to the SA. That's why the Sudeten SA were part of the invasion force for Poland, because they had actually been trained properly in combat tactics, where most of the SA hadn't been as units. Well, we're going to end the episode here. It's gone on a little bit longer than planned. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And of course, I love hearing from you, so please post questions, comments, corrections, because I'm sure I'm getting some of this wrong. But you can point to Wikipedia articles and other things for backing your opinions why I'm wrong up. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.